Now to Ms. Rood for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Mitchell, you mentioned in your comments earlier that the standards, it's different for horses going for slaughter versus those that are going for sporting events, when in fact we heard from the CFIA and the CBSA that those are exactly the same standards. So fact, flights do not always have to stop over for refuel. There are direct flights that go across the ocean. And I haven't seen anywhere that you've provided any new scientific data here to back up what your assumptions are. So I'm just wondering, is it fair to say that you doubt the expertise of the CFIA and Canada Border Services in regulating and enforcing the safe transport of live horses?
Thanks for the opportunity to clarify. So the regulations, the health of animal regulations, are not different for different types of export. My position and the evidence is that in practice, the way horses are exported for slaughter is different. On the point of refueling, I have never seen a shipment of horses that has left Canada for Japan that has not refueled. Generally, they refuel in Alaska. Occasionally, there are other locations. My understanding is that due to the weight of those aircrafts carrying so many horses, they do refuel. If there have been examples where they haven't, I'd be very interested to see that. But certainly, I've never seen an instance where that hasn't happened. And on the point of scientific evidence, I come before you as a lawyer, absolutely not a scientist. I'm the first to admit that. So what I would say is that you do have a brief before you from 34 leading veterinarians and animal welfare experts. I would commend that brief to you. We've also put forward a more extensive report that sets out some of the scientific concerns. And I would commend that to you as well.
Thank you very much. And just to clarify once again, of all of those veterinarians that signed that brief, there was only 2 that were not small animal veterinarians. The rest of them were small animal veterinarians. So it sounds like your objections to this bill, Ms. Mitchell, are not grounded in science, but rather in a love of horses. And I'm just wondering, why ban the whole practice entirely? Why wouldn't you just advocate for increasing the standards? Have you ever been on any of those flights? Have you witnessed the landing and the treatment of the horses while they're en route?
On the point of the letter signatories, my understanding is that that is incorrect, that many of those signatories do in fact have specific expertise when it comes to horses and horse welfare. There are also a number of professors from, I'm just going by memory here, I believe University of Guelph and other institutions who are themselves animal welfare experts. But in any event, I can't Google all their names at this moment, so I won't give you specifics there. And then as in terms of, whether or not to simply improve the regulations, as I mentioned earlier to MP Perron, the very nature of this transport, shipping 180, whatever the number is, horses from feedlots in very rural areas in Canada, all the way overseas, is incredibly stressful, and it's also incredibly risky for these animals, and our position is that it is unnecessary suffering.
But you don't have a problem with them being shipped over there for sporting events? Yes or no? It's a simple answer.
Well, I don't know enough about the way that they're shipped for sporting events to have a position. I do know that they're shipped in much better...
They're shipped exactly the same way that they are if they're going to slaughter, and we heard that from testimony in the previous hour.
No,
and I'd like to just point out for context, there's over 15,000 practicing veterinarians in Canada, and the letter that was submitted by 20 veterinarians to this committee, only 2 of them were equine or have experience with actual horses, and the rest were small animal vets for dogs and cats. And with my last minute, Mr. Chair, I'd like to just turn over to Equine Canada, please. And I'm just wondering if you could tell us how significant is the sale of horse livestock for processing to owners' cost recovery?
I'm sorry that I can't answer that because our jurisdiction only covers active equines in Canada, so it isn't nothing in the food sector other than sport and recreation is what our jurisdiction covers.
So you have no data to support any kind of cost recovery for your folks when these horses are at the end of their careers?
In terms of when a sport horse goes for slaughter, is that what you mean?
Yes.
No, we don't track that data in terms of what end of life plans happen for any sport horses, as typically it's done with their veterinarian, and it's not gone through the same type of
Thanks.
for the horses that we're talking about
Thank
today.
you, Ms.
I'm sorry,
McLaren.
we don't cover that.
Yeah,